I wanted to create a space to honor the strength and resilience of women, to ask the question, what motivates a woman to rise up and stand greater than the very obstacle that tried to keep her down? Where does this greatness come from? And how can we access it together through the sharing of story and experience? Inspiring, empowering, and loving, helping women to see themselves as the heroes of their lives, coming together in the practice of a kinder beauty, exploring the very essence of who we are, and reaching a new way of being. This is the Greater Than Project. Hello everyone, welcome to the Greater Than Project. I'm Michelle Madrid Branch. Today we are exploring an epidemic that does not discriminate. It can happen to everyone, all races, all religions, all income and education levels. Some have referred to this epidemic as a psychological trap disguised as love. A trap that millions of women and a few men have fallen into and fall into each and every year. In fact, it may be your story. The epidemic I refer to is domestic abuse. In the United States, women ages 16 to 24 are 3 times as likely to be victims of domestic abuse. Over 500 women and girls in this age range are killed every year by their abusive partners, boyfriends and husbands in the United States. Knowing the warning signs and the patterns of domestic abuse could very well save your life or the life of someone you love. Joining me today to share her story is domestic abuse survivor Kristen Van Noy. Kristen, thank you so much for being here today on the Greater Than Project. We appreciate it. I was reading, Kristen, that there are stages in domestic abuse relationships, and often those stages are very identifiable from case to case, starting with some sort of honeymoon period where the abuser is very charming, seduces their partner. It moves on to isolation, moving on to the threat of violence, and then ultimately to violence itself. I'd like you to take me back to the time when you first met the person who is now your ex, and tell me a little bit about what he was like during those early days and how he made you feel.
I remember he made me feel important, very important. And we started our relationship as friends, getting to know one another. And there was a point about a year into the relationship, we started becoming more serious because he received a phone call that he had a daughter that he didn't know about. And to me, I thought that was so heroic that this guy, single dad, would go and pick up his daughter from her grandparents. And
she was an infant.
She was an infant. She was 1 month old, yes. So he went to the store and grabbed a car seat and bottles and just bare necessities and became an instant dad. And I thought that was so incredible. And we started spending more and more time together, and that's when things got more serious. Even though she was now a part of our life, I was still very important to him, and he would make it a priority to get babysitters so we could have some one-on-one time. And then we got married. And I remember it was probably about 6 months into the marriage that things really started declining and really started getting bad. And it was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse.
What types of things would he say, and how do you remember that making you feel?
Yeah, so getting married at the age of 20, I became an instant mom. So I was doing school and being a mom at the same time. And I remember many days sitting in the home, and being a mom is hard work, as I know many moms can attest to now. It's hard work, and taking care of the house and doing school on top of it. And during her nap time, I specifically remember that was my downtime, that I just got to breathe and have my time. So many times he would walk through the door and first thing that he would say is, "What have you done all day? You just sit here and watch TV?" And it was just like I automatically got attacked. So it was those demeaning comments that were said all the time. And I would watch the clock from 3 o'clock on and wondering, is he gonna come home? Is he gonna come home? I don't want him to come home. I want him to stay at work. And that was damaging. That was really damaging to me, to live in that fear every single day.
Not wanting this person to come home, not knowing what he would say.
He's supposed to be my husband. He's supposed to be the person that comforts me and will take care of me and the person that I feel the most safe with. And he, in fact, was the person that I was the most fearful of. And when I wanted something to change, I would try to talk about it and bring it up. And it would escalate into a big fight. And he would get so angry so fast that then I had to stop whatever I was saying because I was fearful that one day he would hit me. We had our 1-year anniversary. We went to Hawaii and we had to walk back to our hotel, and we started arguing over directions on how to get back to our hotel. Something so simple. It made him really angry and really mad. And I decided to walk ahead and not have to deal with his anger in the moment. And my inner dialogue just kept thinking, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not what I deserve. And I guess I knew that it wasn't right because of the family that I grew up in and seeing my parents together in their marriage.
Which was very opposite of what you were experiencing.
Very opposite. They have a wonderful marriage. I have wonderful parents, and it wasn't like that at all. It was shortly after that there was one physical incident of hitting and trying to kick me down the stairs. I said in my head, I remember, finally he hit me. Now I have a reason to leave. Which is so sad because everything that was happening up until that point was just as much of a reason that I could have left. But I felt like that was my pass. Got in the car and I drove, and I didn't know who to call because I didn't want to call my parents and call them and tell them what was going on. All of this was behind closed doors, so no one had any idea. And I ended up going to my bishop's house from church, knocking on his door at midnight and talking with him, and he told me, you need to go home. You need to go talk to your parents. You need their support. So sitting there and talking with my parents, deciding whether or not I should go back. My mom wanted me to stay. She didn't want me to go back to him, but my dad and I were in agreement that I should go back. I should try, do everything that I can. So we decided to go to therapy, and after being done with therapy, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, things just started going downhill again, and there was another major fight that his anger scared me so much that I thought he is going to hurt me again. And it was that day that I left and I went back home, and I decided, I was like, I can't go back. It was very difficult to make a decision that not just affected my life, but it would also affect this little girl that I had no legal rights to. So if I left my ex-husband, then I had to leave her. There was no choice. And I had to come to that decision
For you.
for me. Lots and lots of prayers were being said. Lots of prayers. I think that was the way how I got there. It was from God helping me. I couldn't do that all by myself. And praying and asking for him to allow me to see the person that he knew I could become.
My heart breaks for women who have been beaten down so low that they don't even see themselves in that way. And I love what you're saying, because that there's such a powerful healing there, because you begin to see yourself through a different lens.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most critical steps to take in the healing process. First, I turned to God. Second, it was my family. I moved away, lived with my aunt and uncle, which was a huge blessing to get out of my current circumstances. Lived with them to be able to start over and figure out who I was, who I wanted to be, and what I wanted out of life. The next part of the healing process, I think, was realizing that, wow, I need to go find help. I went and started meeting with a therapist that was able to dig down into some deep roots, and realizing that I married my ex-husband because that's what I thought I deserved. I didn't think that I deserved anything better. And it wasn't until a few years later that I met another girl who had gone through a divorce, and she was telling me her story. And as she was telling me her story, my eyes, I could just tell, were just getting bigger and bigger, and my jaw was dropping, because I thought, wow, I experienced some of those exact same things. The exact same things, but I've never told anyone about. And I thought that is the last part in this process to be able to heal, is to work through these other traumatic experiences that I never wanted to talk about. And meeting with another therapist and talking with him about it. And again, one thing that was eye-opening is he allowed me to be angry. And I would have days that I could just cry it out. And it was part of this very, very emotional experience.
So he gave you that permission, this therapist, and you gave yourself permission to go to those places that maybe we don't feel that we're able to express those things in our culture, or it doesn't look a certain way, it's not perfect, it's imperfect.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that, but you gave yourself the space to release that and let it out in whatever way your body and your mind and your spirit needed to release it.
Yeah, and I deserved that.
Absolutely.
I deserved to be able to do that. And I think we all get a little bit scared in saying, I need help from someone else to get better. But going through something that traumatic, we really do.
We all face struggles in this life, and we all get knocked down. It's important to share it, because I think in those places where it is very messy and raw, and those places that hurt and we want to hide from, it's the very things that can be the fuel for us to grow.
Yes.
And to find our strength and to find our voice and to help others.
And that's one thing that I would say therapy also helped me to do, is to be able to own my experience. And being able to own it.
Own your history.
Own my history and say, because of that, it has allowed me to become the person that I am today. And I grew from it. I became stronger. And now I have the ability to be able to go and relate with other women who have experienced something very similar and help them get through it. I've already been able to do that with a lot of young women.
So many women who find themselves in a similar situation that you were in,
Yes.
who are afraid to leave, giving themselves lots of reasons why they shouldn't leave, and who perhaps don't feel that they're worthy of a different kind of love. What would you say to them today?
First of all, they are worthy. They deserve much, much better. Women are strong. And that's why I hope I can be a voice for a lot of women and say, you can do it. There are so many resources out there that can help you, whether you have family or friends or through religion and other, I know there's a lot of resources. Use them, take advantage of them. Use me as a resource, you know?
But don't stay in a situation.
But don't stay in a situation that you know is harming you and harming your children.
When you look back on the girl then and the woman now, what can you say that you're greater than and stronger than?
I am greater than the abuse and the fear that I lived every day. I am greater than the person that I thought I was.
And when you step into that truth, how does that expand your life?
Oh, it's amazing. It's called freedom.
Yes.
I feel free. And I can be who I am. There's just such a confidence in being able to say that and being able to know that I can do hard things. And I can allow those hard things to help me to grow.
And I see you doing that, thriving, standing true in your story and willing to share and be raw and share that with women and girls today who may be struggling and asking themselves the very same questions that you did back then. And I know that you're reaching them today and that you will continue to reach them. And what is your hope and your prayer for them, for that girl who's listening?
Yes, my hope and my prayer is for these women to be able to find the strength within themselves to be able to overcome whatever it is. And if it is an abusive relationship, that they need to look for others to help too, because you can't do it on your own. Abusers are very good at starting in this honeymoon phase, and then things kind of spiral and they get worse and worse. And when the abuse happens, and taking myself for example, and leaving, right after that always comes, I'm sorry, I won't ever do it again. I'll change. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just please come back. And then the exact same cycle will happen again and again. And to all the other women, you are greater than allowing that cycle to continue and happen to you.
And I listened to one woman, Kristen, who said she was a survivor of domestic violence and said, I didn't say anything for a very long time, but when I did finally say something, I told everyone. And I think that that is all about breaking the silence. So I want to thank you and I honor you for sharing your story. And I do pray that every person watching, male and female alike, will feel your strength and that they'll realize that they too have everything they need within them to end domestic violence once and for all, and to make the decisions and the real steps that they need to make to heal their lives and move forward healthy and whole. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
If you are in immediate danger, call 911. Please don't hesitate. If you're questioning something that is happening to you, to your mother, your sister, a friend, or a neighbor, you can call your local 24-hour crisis line for confidential information and support. Please know that you do not have to be in crisis to call a 24-hour support line. Thank you so much for joining us. We ask you to help us break the silence of domestic violence by sharing this episode on your social media streams. And we invite you to follow us also on YouTube and on Facebook. We remind you that love should never, ever hurt. And we invite you to come back and join us again next month for the Greater Than Project. Until then, please keep in mind, you are more than enough. In fact, you are greater than.